The Hong Kong film set fell silent as Be on the Lookout Yeung's deep voice cut through the humid air. "Bruce, everyone says you're fast. But I think it's just camera tricks." His muscular arms crossed over his chest as he stared at the legendary martial artist. Bruce Lee stood perfectly still, his expression unreadable. The crew stopped what they were doing. Cameras weren't rolling, but everyone knew they were about to witness something unforgettable. "You want to test my speed?" Bruce asked quietly, his voice calm but carrying an edge that made veteran stuntmen take a step back. Bolo nodded, his confidence unwavering. "Right here, right now. No cameras, no tricks. Just you and me." Before we dive into what happened next, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, so you never miss stories about martial arts legends who shaped cinema history. Now let's see what happened when one of the strongest men in martial arts cinema challenged the fastest. The year was 1973, and the set of Enter the Dragon buzzed with energy. This wasn't just another kung fu movie. This was Bruce Lee's chance to show the world what real martial arts looked like. The production had brought together the finest martial artists from across Asia, and among them was Yang Zi, known to the world as Bolo Yeung. Bolo was already famous in Hong Kong bodybuilding circles. At 37 years old, he had won the Mr. Hong Kong Bodybuilding Championship multiple times. His physique was incredible. Massive shoulders, arms like steel cables, and a chest that looked carved from granite. He had appeared in dozens of martial arts films, always playing the intimidating villain. His presence on screen made audiences believe he could break a man in half. Bruce Lee, on the other hand, was 32 years old and stood at 5 feet 7 inches tall, weighing just 140 pounds. Next to Bolo's muscular 220-pound frame, Bruce looked almost small. But those who knew martial arts understood that Bruce Lee was something different. He wasn't just an actor. He was a philosopher, an innovator, and a martial artist who had developed his own fighting system called Jeet Kune Do. The tension between them had been building for days. Be on the Lookout respected Bruce's reputation, but he couldn't understand the mystique. He had trained in traditional martial arts since childhood. He understood power, strength, and endurance. What he couldn't grasp was how someone so much smaller could be considered the greatest martial artist alive. During breaks, other martial artists on set would share stories about Bruce's incredible speed. They talked about how he could land 3 punches before you could blink. How his kicks were so fast that cameras had to be slowed down to capture them properly. Bolo listened to these stories with growing skepticism. "It's Hollywood magic," he told his fellow actors one afternoon. "Special effects and clever camera work. In a real confrontation, technique and speed only go so far. Strength and power decide the winner." The other actors said nothing. They had seen Bruce train. They knew better than to doubt him. But Bolo's confidence came from years of physical dominance. In bodybuilding competitions, he had proven his superior strength. In film fight scenes, his powerful strikes made other actors genuinely nervous. Why should Bruce Lee be any different? The challenge came on a Thursday afternoon. The cast was rehearsing a fight sequence in the underground lair set. The massive room was filled with mirrors and martial arts equipment. Bruce was explaining how he wanted the fight choreography to look more realistic, less theatrical. Bolo had been listening quietly, and finally, his frustration boiled over. "All this talk about speed and realism," Bolo said, his voice respectful but firm. "But Bruce, in a real fight, speed means nothing without power. I've seen your movies. I respect your skill. But I think the camera makes you look faster than you really are." The rehearsal space went completely silent. Even the crew members who had been adjusting lights stopped moving. In Hong Kong cinema culture, publicly challenging someone like this was serious. It wasn't just questioning his ability. It was questioning his honor. Bruce turned slowly to face Bolo. His expression remained calm, but everyone who knew him recognized the intensity in his eyes. "You think my speed is just camera tricks?" "I think," Bolo said carefully, "that real martial arts is about more than speed. It's about power, strength, endurance. Things that can't be faked." Bruce nodded slowly. "You're right about one thing. Real martial arts can't be faked." He paused, looking around at the assembled cast and crew. "Would you like a demonstration? No cameras, no special effects. Just you and me so you can see for yourself." Word spread through the studio like wildfire. Bruce Lee and Bolo Yeung were about to have a demonstration. Within minutes, the underground lair set was packed with crew members, actors, stuntmen, and anyone else who could find a reason to be there. Even the director, Robert Klaus, came down from his office to watch. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation. On one side stood Be on the Lookout Yeung, representing traditional power and physical dominance. His muscular frame cast an impressive shadow under the studio lights. He removed his shirt, revealing the physique that had made him famous. His confidence was visible in every movement. He had challenged Bruce publicly. Now he would prove his point. On the other side stood Bruce Lee, wearing his simple training clothes. Next to Bolo, he looked almost fragile. But the veteran martial artists in the crowd knew better. They had seen Bruce train. They understood that what they were about to witness would be unforgettable. "What would you like me to demonstrate?" Bruce asked, his voice calm and professional. This wasn't about ego for him. This was about teaching, about showing the difference between theatrical martial arts and the real thing. Bolo thought for a moment. "Your punching speed. Everyone says you can punch faster than anyone alive. I want to see it. Not on camera, not in slow motion. Right here, right now." Bruce nodded. "I'll need a volunteer. Someone to hold a target." One of the stunt coordinators stepped forward, holding a thick leather striking pad. He positioned himself in front of Bruce, holding the pad at chest level. The crowd pressed closer, forming a tight circle around them. Everyone wanted to see clearly. "How many punches?" Bruce asked simply. Bolo shrugged. "Show me what you've got. Impress me." What happened next would be discussed on Hong Kong film sets for decades. Bruce took his stance, a modified Wing Chun position that seemed casual, almost relaxed. His hands hung loosely at his sides. There was no tension in his shoulders, no warning in his posture. Then he moved. The first punch was so fast that most people missed it entirely. The sharp crack of leather echoed through the set before their eyes could register the movement. The stunt coordinator holding the pad stumbled backward, his arms absorbing the impact. But Bruce wasn't finished. His fists became a blur of motion. 1 punch, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The leather pad made a sound like a machine gun firing. Crack, 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 crack. The stunt coordinator had to brace himself with his back foot, struggling to maintain his position against the force of the impacts. And then it was over. Total elapsed time: less than 2 seconds. 6 full power punches delivered with such speed that the individual strikes were almost impossible to see. The crowd stood in stunned silence, their minds struggling to process what their eyes had just witnessed. The stunt coordinator lowered the striking pad, breathing heavily. His arms were shaking from absorbing the impacts. 6 punches, he said, his voice filled with awe. I counted 6 separate strikes. Each one had full power behind it. Bolo's expression had changed. The confident smirk was gone, replaced by genuine shock. He had expected to see quick punches, certainly, but this was something beyond his understanding. This wasn't just speed. This was impossible speed combined with devastating power. That's not human, someone in the crowd whispered. But Bruce heard it and turned to address everyone watching. It's completely human, Bruce said. His breathing barely elevated despite the explosive demonstration. But it requires understanding the difference between muscular tension and muscular speed. Most martial artists use their muscles wrong. They tense up, thinking tension equals power. But tension creates resistance. It slows you down. He gestured to his own body. My muscles are relaxed until the moment of impact. Then everything engages at once. The power comes from the kinetic chain from the ground up through the legs, hips, core, shoulders, and finally the fist. It's physics, not magic. Bolo was still processing what he'd seen. As a bodybuilder, he had always believed that bigger muscles meant more power. His training had focused on building mass, on creating the intimidating physique that made him perfect for villain roles. But Bruce had just demonstrated something that contradicted everything he thought he knew. Can you do it again? Bo asked, his voice quieter now, respectful. But slower so I can see the technique? Bruce smiled for the first time since the challenge began. This was what he wanted. Not humiliation but education. Not defeat but understanding. Of course, Bruce said. That's why we're here. To learn. For the next 15 minutes, Bruce demonstrated his technique in slow motion. He showed how his stance allowed for rapid weight transfer, how his breathing synchronized with his movements, how his fist rotated at the last possible moment to generate maximum impact, how his entire body became one unified weapon, delivering force far beyond what his size suggested. Bolo watched intently. His earlier skepticism transformed into genuine fascination. He asked questions. Bruce answered patiently, demonstrating each principle clearly. The challenge had evolved into a teaching moment, exactly as Bruce had intended. Then came the moment that would define their relationship for the rest of Bruce's life. "Would you like to try?" Bruce asked Bolo. "Come here. Stand where I was standing." Bolo approached slowly, almost hesitantly. The confident bodybuilder who had challenged Bruce just 20 minutes earlier now moved with uncertainty. He took the same stance Bruce had shown him, trying to replicate the relaxed positioning. "Now punch the pad," Bruce instructed. "Use your normal technique. Don't try to copy what I showed you yet. Just punch the way you normally would." Bolo drew back his massive fist and threw a powerful punch at the striking pad. The impact was impressive, making a loud thud that echoed through the set. The force was undeniable. This was a man who could genuinely hurt someone with his strikes. "Good power," Bruce observed. "Now watch carefully. You're tensing your shoulder before you punch. That telegraphs your intention. It also slows you down by creating resistance. Instead, stay relaxed like this." Bruce placed his hand on Bolo's shoulder, feeling the muscles. "When you tense here, you create a break in your own system. The power can't flow smoothly from your body to your target. Try again, but keep your shoulder relaxed until the last microsecond." Bolo tried again. The difference was noticeable, but he still couldn't achieve the blinding speed Bruce had demonstrated. Bruce continued teaching, adjusting Bolo's stance, his breathing, his mental focus. It was patient, respectful, and incredibly generous. "What you did," Bolo finally said, his voice filled with genuine humility, "I don't think I can do that even with practice. It's not just technique. Something else. Something you were born with, maybe." Bruce shook his head. "No one is born with this. I've trained every single day since I was a child. Thousands of hours of practice. Tens of thousands of repetitions. The speed you saw didn't come from genetics. It came from dedication and correct training principles." He looked directly at Bolo. "You have incredible strength. Your physical conditioning is superior to mine in many ways. But we've trained our bodies for different purposes. You've built your physique for size and appearance. I've built mine for functional speed and power. Neither is wrong. They're just different." Then Bruce did something that surprised everyone watching. He bowed deeply to be on the lookout, showing the traditional martial arts respect between practitioners. "Thank you for challenging me. These demonstrations help everyone understand what real martial arts looks like. Your courage in questioning me publicly has given us all a valuable teaching moment." Bolo returned the bow immediately, his respect now absolute. "Sifu Bruce," he said, using the Cantonese term for teacher. "I apologize for doubting you. I came here thinking I knew martial arts. Now I realize I know nothing. Would you honor me by teaching me more?" The crowd erupted in applause. This was the resolution everyone had hoped for. Not humiliation but mutual respect. Not defeat but education. The challenge had transformed into something beautiful. A master teacher and a humble student, both learning from each other. For the remaining weeks of filming Enter the Dragon, Bolo became Bruce's most dedicated student. Every morning before the rest of the cast arrived, Bolo would be in the training area, practicing the techniques Bruce had shown him. Bruce would join him, patiently correcting his form, explaining the philosophy behind the movements. Their relationship evolved into genuine friendship. Bolo later told interviewers that those weeks changed his entire understanding of martial arts and life itself. "Bruce taught me that real strength isn't about intimidating people with your size," Bolo said in a 1998 interview. "Real strength is about mastering yourself, understanding your body's true potential, and having the humility to keep learning." The other cast members witnessed this transformation with amazement. Bolo, who had been somewhat arrogant about his physical prowess, became one of the most humble and dedicated students on set. He asked questions constantly. He practiced movements hundreds of times, seeking perfection. He absorbed Bruce's philosophy about martial arts as a path to self-knowledge. When Enter the Dragon was released, Bolo's performance as the villain was unforgettable. But those who were on set knew the truth. The intimidating presence on screen came from an actor who had learned genuine respect for martial arts through one humbling demonstration of speed that defied belief. Years later, after Bruce Lee's tragic death in 1973, Bolo spoke publicly about that day. "Bruce could have humiliated me," Bolo told a Hong Kong newspaper. "He could have made me look foolish in front of everyone. Instead, he turned my challenge into a teaching moment. He showed me what I didn't know, then offered to teach me. That's the mark of a true master." The story of Bolo's challenge spread throughout the martial arts community. It became a legendary example of Bruce Lee's character, demonstrating not just his physical abilities, but his wisdom and generosity as a teacher. The fastest man in martial arts had proven his speed, but more importantly, he had shown the path to genuine mastery. The lesson from that day on the Enter the Dragon set remains powerful decades later. Real confidence doesn't need to prove itself through humiliation. Real mastery includes the humility to teach those who question you. And real strength isn't about having the biggest muscles or the most intimidating presence. It's about continuous learning, respecting your art, and understanding that there's always more to discover. Bolo Yeung went on to have a successful career in martial arts cinema, appearing in over 70 films. But he never forgot the day he challenged Bruce Lee's speed, and learned that true martial arts mastery goes far beyond what the camera can capture. It's measured in dedication, philosophy, and the willingness to transform challenge into education. If this story of respect, humility, and martial arts wisdom inspired you, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Share this story with someone who needs to understand that real strength comes from continuous learning, not just physical power. Drop a comment below telling us about a time when someone challenged your beliefs and taught you something valuable. Your story might become our next inspiring video. The martial arts world lost Bruce Lee far too soon, but his lessons about speed, power, and the true meaning of mastery continue to inspire millions. Remember, it's not about proving you're the best. It's about being humble enough to keep learning, wise enough to teach others, and strong enough to transform challenges into opportunities for growth.